All right, hello everyone. Welcome to another Friday live stream here on Savvy.co. I'm Will Hookinga from American Rum Report, and I'm very excited to have with me today Todd Thrasher of Thrasher's Rum in Washington, D.C., which I was just sharing with Todd. I've never been to, not even on a school field trip, if you can believe that. I feel somewhat deprived. Anyway, Todd, how's it going? How are you doing today?
It's going well. The weather's not cooperating, but everything else is well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Like anytime I do these live streams, I always just like there's a window right behind my computer. And
Uh-huh.
so whatever weather I'm seeing outside, I just assume the other person is experiencing as well.
Yeah, it doesn't happen like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Unfortunately, because it's like super sunny, really nice out here today. But anyway, hello everyone. If you're joining us for the first time today, I see a few familiar faces. John Atkins from Virginia. Hey, John. He was just sharing with me last week about the release from the George Washington distillery in
Yeah.
Virginia that just released a rum that they made a few years back with Maggie Campbell from Privateer. That was a cool release. Anyway, feel free. There's a chat box on the right. Feel free to say hello. Let us know where you're tuning in from. If you have a question for Todd at any point, there's a little button at the bottom that says ask a question. Feel free to put it in there. If you see me looking to my left, I'm just keeping an eye out for those. Oh, and also fellow DC distillery Cotton and Reed is here. John Hayes says hello.
What's up,
Um,
John?
so yeah, for those of you watching, one of the main reasons I wanted to have Todd on here today, and I mentioned this in my newsletter today, but generally there's like, if you're speaking in broad terms, there's two kinds of distilleries making rum in the US right now. There are what I call rum-focused distilleries, and then there are distilleries that make rum alongside a bunch of other things. And there's hundreds that are doing the latter, making rum plus a bunch of other stuff. And there's maybe 30 to 40 some odd that are focused on rum. So anytime I see a new one pop up, it's really exciting. And when I saw you guys, pop up in 2019, I've been kind of, following along ever since, and have been wanting to have you on. So, and that's when I say make that distinction, that's not to say that you can't find good rums from distilleries to make other stuff. In fact, I picked up a rum from a Texas distillery that I don't even think is making rum anymore just yesterday, and it was so good that I was upset that they're making other stuff. I won't share what it is yet because I'm gonna write something up about it. But anyway, the people who are focused on rum, it's always exciting. I always want to have them on, get to know like what they're doing, what got them into it, what their style is, that sort of thing. So yeah, Todd, so for those who are less familiar with Thrashers, I'd love for you to kind of bring them up to speed on who you guys are and how you got started.
Yeah. So I am Todd Thrasher. So the name came easily to me
Right.
for the rum. So I've been a bartender pretty much my whole professional life. After college, I didn't know what I was going to do because at 22, what are you supposed to do? You're
Right.
supposed to make the decision for the rest of your life. So I started bartending and loved it. Bartended all the way through for God knows forever until I met a chef named Jose Andres, who he and I, when we were about 26 or 27, he was a cook, I was a bartender. We became really good friends, and he always told me to do more, and so I became a bartender, became a bar manager, became a restaurant manager, opened my first restaurant in 2003 in Alexandria, Virginia. Still bar focus was my main thing. I had partners that was the chef and things like that. Opened a little bar called PX. I don't even know what year that was, 2005, which is kind of on the forefront of the craft cocktail movement. And
Right. Yeah,
yeah,
I was reading an article about it, and when you say little, like something stuck out to me. There was some mention in the article. It's like really small, right?
yeah, 32 seats. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was not a moneymaker. It was good for the ego, but not making money.
Probably great for
So
the customers though. I
it was
like when
great
you
for the
hear bar
customers.
with 32 seats, like
Yeah,
the drinks are going to be great, right?
yeah, and probably for the first 9 months, we only were open 4 days a week, but I bartended every night for the first 9 months, and
Wow.
yeah, and we didn't allow standing, and it was kind of on the forefront of that. We opened in in 2000. It's either 2004, 2005, I forget. But we
Okay.
opened before like PDT in New York. We opened before Death and Company. Like the only real speakeasies that were out there was Milk and Honey and Pegu to a lesser extent, and Angel Share. Like when I did that, I had no idea what I was doing. Like
Right.
opening a cocktail bar, I owned restaurants and I owned a bar, but never something that was specifically to cocktails.
Yeah, I remember like I'm in Nashville, which is, generally probably a few years behind cities like
Yeah,
DC when it comes to culinary bar type stuff. And I think it was maybe 2008 or so, this bar called the Patterson House opened here. And it
so
was
good.
it was the first it
Yeah,
was that kind of speakeasy vibe. Like it was upstairs in part of another building,
yeah,
and like everyone's like mind were just like blown, like
yeah.
this new kind of bar no one had seen before.
Yeah. So
Um,
so we had that, and that was one of those things where I made everything from scratch. I never would buy. I mean, that's kind of been my whole mantra my whole life. I'd always
okay.
make everything from scratch, whether it be sours mix or not buying simple syrup, a crazy talk.
Hmm.
But then it involved into bitters and things like that, making my own bitters, um, doing everything from scratch. So I mean, it was the epitome of craft, and we
Hmm.
just shut that down last June after I think 16 years we had it.
Wow.
It just got to the point where I couldn't divide my time between. We have a bar upstairs called Tiki TNT. We have the
Yeah.
distillery where I am now. But in 2010, I had this idea. I went to a bartending competition in New Zealand. It was a
Oh,
liquor company
wow.
called liquor company called 42 Below, which did the World Cup of cocktails. Uh,
Okay.
I had made a cocktail. It was with 42 Below vodka. It was called I Have Way Too Much Time on My Hands at this point in my life today. And I won the DC qualifier. I went to New York, won the New York qualifier, but then a team of three of us went to New Zealand, started in Queenstown, and we moved to Wellington and made cocktails there for a week. And I ended up winning the whole thing in New
Wow.
Zealand. So the whole idea for Thrasher's Rum came that night after we won. Everyone else went out and
From a
partied.
vodka cocktail?
It came from the vodka competition. I went to this bar
Okay.
in Wellington, New Zealand, called the Motel Bar.
Hmm.
And one of the ways to get into the bar rather than paying money is you bring a spirit from wherever you're from.
That's
So
cool.
I had brought two bottles. I had brought a bottle of Catoctin Creek, and that was like right when they first started going. And I bought a bottle of Andrew Bowman's something whiskey or something from
Okay.
Fredericksburg. I took that to New Zealand with me. We went to the Motel Bar. My wife and I got in, and they had a wall of booze. It was so amazing. But booze, not that they had purchased, that people had brought from all over the
Okay.
world. There was a bottle of Machu Pisco there. And if you don't know what Machu Pisco is, it's a pisco made in Peru, but it's made by these two ladies from Washington, D.C., who happen to be my
Oh, really?
friends. Melanie and Lizzie Asher make it. They're Peruvian, but they live here. Melanie goes back every year and makes the pisco. And I thought to
Wow.
myself, how cool would it be to have a spirit that I made on a bar halfway across the world?
Yeah.
And as a bartender, the only way we ever make money is when we're working. And I
Right.
thought to myself, how can I make money when I'm sleeping? Maybe make a brand and have it halfway across the world. So that's how the idea of Thrasher's Rum came in 2010. And 2018, November 2018 was when we first started distilling. So it
Okay.
took about 8 years to get to where we were, but that was kind of the idea. That's where the idea was birthed at that point.
Right. Wait, so what was in the winning cocktail, by the
Oh, it
way?
was 42 Below vodka. I made a thyme lime simple syrup. So thyme, simple syrup, and lime juice. And then I had Cynar, the artichoke liqueur from
Yeah, yeah,
Italy.
yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
then I had made compressed apple balls with thyme in it. So I took apples, cored them, made balls out of them, and then sous vide them with thyme. And that was a
Wow.
garnish. Three
That sounds
ingredient
amazing.
cocktail. Yeah, it took me
Yeah.
like took me my whole idea is I always do lots of prep, so everything's easy when we make it. So
Okay.
that whole cocktail was like a 3 second cocktail to make, like during the competition. Yeah,
Sounds like it'd be
but
great
it
for the fall season we're in right now.
it would be a great cocktail for the fall season. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's how it all was born. But I've always been a rum drinker. I'm a big scuba diver.
Okay.
Whenever we go diving, I would always drink rum and tonics. So,
Uh-huh.
and we would, because I'm a scuba diver, we go places most of the time, Caribbean or the South Pacific. Rum's always big, so that's what I've always drank. I've never the first thing I ever drank in my life. I was 20 years old, And my roommate and I finished a bottle of Captain Morgan Spice rum and RC Cola, and hey, it was love at first sight.
The rest is history.
The rest is history. Yeah.
So one thing I'm always interested in with American rum producers is how you arrive at whatever your style of rum ends up being in terms of influences or objectives, things like that. Like kind of like what are you going for, and what other types of rum informed what you wanted to make.
Yeah.
And one of the things that stuck out to me about Thrashers right away that I haven't seen very much in American rum is your website was mentioning kind of your style of rum being influenced by Demerara rums.
Yeah.
Like I'm used to seeing some distilleries saying like, you know, we were kind of influenced by, you know, a funky Jamaican vibe and that sort of thing. But I haven't seen as many referencing Guyana. So I was just interested to ask, like, are there any like how do you, I assume you start by enjoying rums from that region, but then how do you go about saying
Maybe
like, I want like, how do I make something like this, like, you know, thousands of miles away from it? Like how did that style inform the sort of decisions you made as you start, you know, making rum for the first time?
Yeah. So obviously the way you learn what you like is you drink it. So you taste all types of rum. For me, El Dorado is as good as it can get. All of them across the board, whether you're from, you know, like the Diamond White all the way up to the El Dorado. I think they have that 50 out right now, which is insane. I've just always liked that style of rum. It's not, us Americans maybe don't like so much funky stuff. So Jamaican, for me, for most Americans, was probably out of the picture for me to make that style. Although I love that style also. For me, that style of the Demerara rum that El Dorado or Diamond makes is really kind of mainstream a little bit. So a lot of people, different people can enjoy it. That's how I made that decision. And then, well, not the decision. That's the rum I like. And I was like, always said, if I make a rum, that's what I want to make. So then I went to the way I had never distilled before. Like you can see the still behind me. I'd never distilled on anything like that before. I had a 10-gallon copper pot still in my backyard, of course.
Okay.
That I've been distilling on since about 2007, 2008. But at the decision, I'm just like, I'm going to open a distillery. I need to figure out how to do this, scale it up. And, you know, it's not, ultimately it was kind of like, just times the recipe I already had by, you know, 300 and we'll get there. But I went to Moonshine University in Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah. I took 3 classes. I took a marketing class, which was awesome. I took 4 courses. I took a marketing class. I took a yeast class, a fermentation class with Dr. Pat Heiss from Wilderness Trail. He was quite possibly the smartest guy I've ever met in my life. Okay. Then I took a general distillation class, and then I took a rum class with Luis Ayala from Got Rum. And one of the things he kind of said is, you know, find your target. Find what kind of rum you want to make. Have that glass with you all the time, and try to make that your target to get to. So that's what I did. Justin's my assistant distiller. We say, we make white rum. That's what we make. So we keep a glass of El Dorado here. And when we first started distilling, we're like, how are we getting close to that? And obviously the answer is no. And it's kind of still no, but that's what I'm striving for every day. I do say our rum is like if El Dorado and Old Appleton's got together and had a baby, that would be our rum, because we do have a little bit of funk to it still. Because I think we need a little funk. I can't make Bacardi, right? Yeah. Because Bacardi has a stronghold on that market. So I need to make something a little different and set ourselves apart. So that's kind of the target was El Dorado, and now it's like if El Dorado and Old Appleton's had a baby, that's what we make in Washington D.C.
Yeah. What take me into some of those early backyard distilling experiences. What was that process like?
Interesting. I didn't blow anything up.
Okay.
We have bamboo in our backyard, and I didn't blow any of the bamboo up. I started with a little chemistry set of glass, like a 1 liter glass still, and then we moved. I bought a copper pot still from someplace in Arkansas, the Ozarks of Arkansas. And, you know, it all sucked. It was absolutely terrible. But it was all a learning experience. I would taste stuff and then dump it right now, because, you know, I would go to like Costco and get a gallon jug of molasses and sugar and start working that. It was absolutely terrible. It got to the point probably about 4 or 5 years into it that I had been doing it, that I would actually drink it from then and let my friends taste it.
Okay.
And again, I was an idiot. I didn't know. I thought maybe I'd be killing people because heads, hearts, and tails. What the hell is that? No idea. Just drink it all. You're frozen. I'm frozen. Somebody's frozen.
Oh, hey, sorry about that.
You're back.
Yeah. And just to set the scene a little bit for people now. So, we covered the backyard, but where you are, like one of the first things that stood out to me with Thrashers was I saw the images of the distillery itself, and it's like, wow, this is a very, it has the appearance of a very serious rum project. Like,
yeah, sure.
So I just want to show people kind of,
Yeah.
what it, so where is this in DC?
So
like set the stage for us a little bit.
So if you're looking at the smokestack right there, about a quarter mile and behind the smokestack is the Washington Monument.
Okay.
So we are actually on the southwest waterfront. There's a fish market right outside our door that is the oldest continuously operating market in America.
Wow.
So we are on a historical site. And from the Washington Monument, we're a quarter mile from the White House, a little over that. We're pretty much in the downtown area of DC. If you're on the mall walking around like the Smithsonian's, we're about a 4 or 5 minute walk over from there. And we're right on the river. Like where you're looking is where the bottles are, basically, is sitting on the dock on the river.
Yeah. So if people are going to tour the monuments and everything, they can just add Thrashers to like the end of the agenda.
Yeah, actually, if you come, I have a tiki mug. We have a bar called Tiki TNT upstairs, right?
Uh-huh.
On camera. So the back of the tiki mug it has all the monuments on
Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah, it has everything there.
That's very cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you, Tiki Farm.
So I wanted to talk about you have the bar there. You talked about kind of those years of bartending experience. Does that experience inform the way that you approach making rum at all, or did it influence your approach to product development, deciding what you wanted to put out there initially? Because I know for young distilleries, those making products that bars want to use can be obviously it's a priority for lots of businesses. Right. So I'm just interested to know more about how your experience behind the bar has kind of guided you in opening a distillery.
Yeah. So honestly, the everything came because I used to make my own stuff, and I figured craft bartending is kind of like at that plateau where it was so hot for so long, right? And so what was the next thing I could do? I figured the next level of craft for me after I've been making cocktails is to go into the ultimate craft, making the spirit that goes into the cocktails that you're making all the ingredients for anyway. Mm-hmm. That's how it started for me. And then my whole, which in retrospect maybe wasn't the best business plan. My whole business plan as far as this bar was just make a rum that was per ounce, a great pour for bars to get on the back bar, to get into cocktails, and to be a bartender's rum, because that's what I am. Justin's a distiller, I'm a distiller, but I'm still a bartender, right? So I wanted to make rum for bartenders to use. I wanted to have that price point, which is good. And I'm a bartender. I'm also a sommelier. I went through the quartermaster sommelier years ago. So I went through all that. I'm not nearly as savvy and smart as Maggie Campbell by any stretch of imaation. With
Maggie said hello,
rum.
by the way. She's tuning in, so
she's awesome. She is the best. We were texting the other day, and I said my thing on this will be much more fluff than a substance. So
no, that's not true. That's not true. This is everyone's learning a lot.
Yeah. So I thought, because I'm a bartender, I've been drinking rum not as the occasional person that enjoys rum at home after they get off their 9-to-5 job. I've been experimenting with rum, making cocktails for years. And so it's probably egotistical of me to think that I probably had a better idea of what rum should taste like going into things, because I've had an opportunity to taste so many. And
well, there is a difference though because I talked to plenty of people making rum in the US now who weren't really that into it before they started, their distillery. So I do think coming to it from the standpoint of someone who is a fan of rum and is, had years of experience drinking it, especially as a bartender.
Yeah.
It does, like, it does give you more of a working knowledge, I would say.
I think so. Whether if I was a park ranger and decided to stop being a park ranger and go into making rum, I think I would have a step up on that person, whether it's true or not. But that's just my thinking. I thought
Sure.
I kind of knew what I should be making before. But that's knowing how to make, knowing what you want to make, and making what you want to make is completely different.